Tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get started in this business at the same time?
Okay, so obviously my name's Charles Weinraub, aka the handsome home buyer. This way we'll make my mom happy, and we'll make you happy. I've been in the business for 6.5 years. How I started in the business, I owned a Mako body shop franchise called Better Get Mako on TV. There's 500 of them around the country. And it was good business, but I really wasn't happy with it. And a buddy of mine gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I read that and I was like, that's it. I'm going to be a professional investor. So to make a long story short, I took a class at NYU, a one-day class after the crash on REOs, because I think everybody that gets into fix and flip thinks that banks are just giving houses away, and that's how you do it. Fast forward today, obviously, I haven't bought an REO in a very long time, and usually they're very overpriced, but they told me to go out and join the local RIA. So RIA is like a meetup. It stands for a Real Estate Education Association. They have them all over the country. And I met my mentor, Carl, and I trained with him for like almost 4 years before I ever bought my first house. And then I bought my first house. I did 2 deals right away. I put the Mako up for sale. And I've been full-time real estate investor over the last 6.5 years, and I've flipped over 400 houses. I also went back to NYU, got my master's in real estate development while doing that. And now I'm doing commercial deals, notes, basically everything in real estate that we do. And recently 3D printing houses out of concrete, which is the coolest part of now what we're doing. And that's like the next iteration of where Handsome Home Buyer is going.
Yeah, we'd love to hear more about that. That's one of the big things I'm interested in following you on Instagram. I love seeing the stories about how these houses are built. One thing that I keep running into, and I see that, I keep thinking, when we do a lot of our rehabs, right, it's like knock a wall down, move things. You're certainly not going to be able to do that with a 3D home in 15 years.
No, it can be done. It's just a little bit more difficult and a little bit messier. But yeah, no, you're right. I get what you're saying.
How come they do that? Why are they so, because it's basically immovable, right? That thing should withstand a hurricane, or no? It seems pretty damn solid.
It is. I always make the joke. I'm like, what's going to last longer, the 3D printed house or the pyramids? But these houses are, the one that we're building right now that we're finishing up in Islandia, I think is one of the best, if not the strongest built house in the country. You can't move it. It is 9,000 PSI of solid concrete. It's what they build superstructures out of in major cities like New York.
What's a norm? So to kind of give us a frame of mind here, what's normal PSI for concrete if you're at 9,000?
It's not necessarily what's normal PSI for concrete. Like the PSI ratings are different depending on what you need to do. Like if you're putting a slab in a garage, it'd be 3,500, 4,500, something like that. Like a typical house, 3,500. But 9,000 PSI is 8,500, 9,000 PSI is just, it's almost triple what's required, double to triple what's required.
And was that a personal thing you decided to do to make it 9,000, or that's standard for these sort of homes being built, the 3D homes?
My friend Enzo, who invented the 3D printer, he set out to build a better, faster, cheaper product across the board. Usually you'll get 2 out of 3, right? You don't usually get better, faster, and cheaper, but he managed to hit all 3. And he just said, I'm going to build this thing to be better than anything. And just, concrete, it's very simple. It's Portland, sand, and water. And you put those 3 things together and it gives you 8,000 to 9,000 PSI.
Actually, that's probably cheaper from the standpoint, like concrete, does that fluctuate the way lumber does and any other sort of building materials?
Not in the same way that lumber has. Like lumber prices are, absolutely insane. I do anywhere from 70 to 110 houses a year. And what's gone on from a 2x4 going to $3 to going to like, $12, $13, $14. It's just, it's crazy. It's very, very difficult to be a builder right now.
You do 70 to 100 homes a year. I had no idea. I knew you were doing some serious stuff, but I guess it's interesting, even for your own viewers. You don't really talk too much about that, right? You're mostly, you're pushing more the 3D home right now, in your stories versus all these other projects you're doing.
Yeah, I put out a bunch of stuff. I guess the thing is that people gravitate towards the 3D because it's far more interesting, because I'm basically one of one person talking about 3D printed houses. And there's a ton of guys that are running around flipping houses or claiming that they flip lots of houses. I don't think most of them really are doing anywhere near what they're saying, but the 3D house is totally unique. There's a couple of companies that are 3D printing houses. None of them like SQ4D, none of them like us. None of them are doing forms, foundations, footings, and interior and exterior walls. And now we're going to be doing roofs. But more importantly, we're the only people that are actually sharing the process and the technology via social media with the world. Nobody really is.
So did you partner with Enzo? Or are you guys doing this together, or you're using his services to start building these?
No, so I'm a board member and an investor in SQ4D. Enzo is the visionary that created it and owns the entire company, essentially, or almost all the company. Him and I just we became friends. We started working together, and it just kind of, morphed into this thing. It just kind of goes to show that if you selflessly help people, great things happen for you. So there's going to be, some big news in the next 6 months or so, which I'll talk about then, that is really going to launch this thing into the stratosphere, and I get to be involved in it, which is life-changing.
That's awesome, man. And not to, I don't want to blow any surprises. I'm sure you won't give us too much information, but so where are you guys building homes? How many are you doing? Just the one with the 3D printing, or what's going on?
So originally what happened is they 3D printed one for the town that didn't have any utilities in it. And they said, listen, we're going to come back in a year to see how it holds up. So they came back in a year. They saw, okay, this is great. So then we got the permit for the first legally 3D printed house out in Riverhead, which he built. And that one he's keeping. He's going to keep it as a rental. It's the first house ever built. So it's kind of a cool thing to have. The one I'm doing in Islandia is going to be the first one that's speculatively built and then listed for sale to be sold. Right after that, in 2 months from now, we're starting one in Wisconsin, which is going to be another one that's going to be spec built and sold. And then we have a 25 lot subdivision in Riverhead, which will be the largest 3D printed subdivision in the world. And then we're just going from there.
Wow, that's awesome. Now,
yeah.
Are you doing these? So the one you're showing is one level though, right? Can you do two levels with it? Being the fact of concrete ceilings and is that? I'm not a construction guy by any means, so.
No, I understand. Neither am I. Believe it or not, I can't even hammer a nail. I do 100 houses a year and I can't even hammer a nail. So don't feel bad, bro. So basically, generation 1 machine was only capable of doing 1 stories. Generation 2 machine, which should be ready in about 45 to 60 days, is capable of doing basements and multiple stories. Yes, it's capable of going up to 50 feet.
And the subdivision that are you going to do 1 level or 2 levels?
Those are all going to be single story ranches, approximately 2,500 square foot single story ranches.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm just like, I love this. I love that you're so involved.
Super cool, man. It's super cool. It's like, it is a very, very, very cool. It's like, for me, I love that, industrial look. I kind of love like the hybrid of like industrial, like concrete, metal, wood. Developers pay big money to buy old buildings that they refurbish to kind of have that hybrid old school industrial look. And we're able to print them. Another really cool thing is the versatility of the machine. So the versatility of the machine enables you to do truly affordable housing and save a lot of money if you want, or do very cool, like niche, boutique-y, high-end builds as well. So it's very cool what the thing can do.
That's awesome. So this is just like, you keep talking about all these firsts, right? Like, so cross country, are you guys, is this company one of the first companies you guys building these homes? Truly, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that no one's really taken it to that level yet.
There are other companies that are 3D printing as well, but and they've raised a ton of money. You have a company like Icon, which raised close to $1 billion. They supposedly have some projects going on, but like for all the fluff and everything, for everything you hear about these companies and what they're going to be building and the money they're raising, you don't see them building anything. So we're actually out there building, documenting it on TikTok, documenting it on Instagram. We're doing it.
So a lot of these other companies are talking, raising money. They're more of these companies trying to look for a high valuation. Basically, you guys are actually out here putting the work in.
Yeah, there's a difference between, there's been a trend in recent years of come up with a concept, go out there, raise a bunch of money. Does it work? Does it not work? As opposed to build a real business. And, Enzo and myself have both built multiple successful businesses. SQ4D is 100% funded by him to the tune of many millions of dollars. And he's absolutely crushed it and was unwilling to take a dollar from anybody or really bring it to market until he perfected it to a point where he knew it was really, really going to work. And the technology is awesome. It really is. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos, see it working, see us doing the forms, the footings, the foundation, the slab. This is stuff that nobody else is doing. Everybody else is having the slabs and everything poured traditionally, and then they're doing exterior walls or some interior and exterior walls. We're about to start doing roofs, multiple stories. I mean, it's, he's light years ahead of everybody else.
So how strong are these homes? Will they withstand? I mean, I know Long Island can get some pretty bad storms, right?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about these houses is, like, for the sexiness that is the machine and three people basically printing a house, it's a concrete house, and concrete is the second most tested substance next to water in the world. And there's concrete houses all over, Europe and in the South and in, Central America. So, it's not an out of the normal thing. It's just the way it goes about being built is unique, but concrete houses are very common.
Now that 3D printing is becoming a little bit more popularized than, company that you're working with here, do you think that that's going to become more of a popular thing for builders to start building with 3D homes, or not necessarily? They're not necessarily going to take over a large market share. I mean, they'll obviously grab a piece, but you think building homes will continue to be more of the brick and mortar lumber kind of thing, or go more toward concrete 3D printing?
I mean, only the future will tell. I think 3D printing is definitely here to stay, and it's going to take a big chunk of the market. I mean, listen, I think we're roughly, last we checked, 3 million homes short right now. I mean, we can't make a dent. Nobody can. Automating construction, regardless of if it ends up being 3D printing out of concrete in 40 years, or if it's something else, automating construction is here to stay. The cost to build is absolutely off the charts insane. And trying to get labor is extremely difficult. I hired 3 people that were supposed to show up today and tomorrow, and none of them showed. 2 of them didn't show up today, and the guy that's supposed to start tomorrow didn't respond. So, while there's a lot of people out there that are upset saying, hey, you're displacing jobs, like, we're not really displacing jobs. 100 years ago, everybody was a farmer. Nobody's a farmer today. 2 machines run an entire farm, and everybody still has jobs. B, there's twice as many jobs available as people to fill them, and people don't want to work. So this is what needs to be done if you want places to live. It's that simple.
You're kind of, don't blame me. You're forcing me to go more automated because nobody wants to work. Like, what am I supposed to do, right?
I mean, necessity is the mother of all invention. Enzo wouldn't have done this if there wasn't a huge need. He wasn't just like, oh, it'd be cool if we get 3D printed houses. He's like, no, I'm tired of all the bullshit. Pardon my language.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm going to build a machine who's going to 3D print houses.
So was he building homes before this? Is that where it came from, or that wasn't his background necessarily?
No, he has a diverse background in business and all different kinds of businesses. He has invested in real estate. He has built before. Absolutely. He's very familiar with the building process and construction.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't want to make this all about him. I got you here. So you got 70 to 100 homes going at once. That's crazy. What's your crew? Well, not at once, in a year. I mean, so what do you probably have at least 15 to 20 going at once then to kind of maintain that, or not?
We usually have anywhere between 40 to 60 houses under construction at any given time. Right now we have about, I think we have 42 houses under construction currently.
How are you managing this, man? You're one person, it seems, right? So let's show us behind the curtain a little bit.
No, I have an amazing crew of people behind me, and it's literal pandemonium all the time. All the time. It's crazy. New York is, in my opinion, the most difficult place to do anything. There's a ton of regulation. It's very hard. The permit process is literally the longest in the country. It's very, very, very hard to do business here. I mean, I have a construction company that has, 25, 30 guys. I have management teams to support them, foremen, 3 people in the office. I have a CFO, and he has 2 people. We have a permit company with 5 people upstairs just managing the permit process. It's a lot.
That's your permit expediting company that you have, right?
Yep.
Now, are you using that mostly for yourself? Or, I mean, obviously you're getting 70 to 100 clients a year in essence being yourself, but are you out there, people can hire you for that as well?
Yeah. So actually I just sold that company to the COO and my brother-in-law. But yes, initially I built that company to service me and then to service other people, because I have a vast network on Long Island. Everybody knows me in the real estate industry. The permit business is something that is needed. And there's like, again, mother of all, necessity is the mother of all invention. I went through like 10 or 12 of the top guys and girls in the industry. I couldn't get my stuff done. They disappeared. They stole money. So what do? You go out and build a company to support what you're doing.
Yep. So how are you finding your properties? Do you have like an in-house wholesaling in essence, or you guys are cold calling, or are they mostly publicly listed? What's your most used channel? Because obviously REOs aren't.
Yeah.
You kind of started with.
Yeah. So this is the funny part. Like I've been working with a company to kind of help structure the business a little bit better and replace myself a little more. I source every single one of those deals. I do not have an acquisitions team. I do not have a team that raises money. I literally raise every dollar to do those deals. And I literally source every single deal myself. Virtually none of them are listed on the market. We do some marketing. We're trying to get better at the marketing, but really New York is so competitive and so saturated that these things come primarily through relationships that I've built and nurtured through organic social media, and then just one-on-one networking and being who I am.
Awesome. Geez. So you never started with a big cold calling operation like a lot of guys?
No, I don't have that at all. I've never had a cold calling operation. I've really never done direct mail. I'm testing some direct mail right now. I do some TV. I've started doing some TV in the last year, which has yielded a little bit, but like 90% of my deals come from referrals from relationships with realtors, attorneys, wholesalers, etc.
Okay. So how are you raising the money? Are you using a hard money avenue, or are you raising private money to get the deals done?
No, I raise private money. So I've, over the last 6 years, I've built a pretty solid lender base of investors that just with one phone call or one email, the money's there.
It's crazy. So that brings down to like not that you have a acquisitions portion necessarily, like you said, but clearly you've got a ton of time going to acquire properties. You basically got a little private fund, right? A little hedge fund going in essence. If you got 70 to 100 homes, you got a construction company. This is madness, man. I feel like you're
it is madness, bro. It is. It's absolutely madness. Like from this point, I'm like, now we have to blow it up to be extremely big, because to function on this level like this forever is a burnout. Like is a burnout business. Like I got to my mentor, Carl, when I first got into the business, he goes, yeah, I know guys that have done 200 and 300 houses a year. And I was like, I was like, I could do that then. If somebody else could do it, I could do it.
Yeah.
So I said to him, I said, hey, whatever happened to those guys? He's like, they burnt out, drugs, divorces, this or that, because I don't care about the systems that you have in place and all that. If you are managing 200 to 300 fix and flips, not wholesales, 200 fix and flip renovations a year, it is insane.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. There's no other way to say it. I mean, you'd rather be doing the wholesale deals are easy compared to what you're doing.
Way easier. I always say, listen, this is what I got into, but people are always like, yeah, I'm going to flip with you. I'm like, listen, if you can just sell paper. There's no risk. There's way less bullshit. The biggest issue is finding quality people to close on the deals. That's the hardest part, in my opinion, of being a wholesaler. But if you could do that, just sell paper.
Yeah, I actually personally got into the business by flipping houses, and to say it, I kind of hated it. I didn't really love doing it, right? But I was working in the city. I was working for a hedge fund administration company. I flipped 2 houses with a friend, and I moved my way into hard money. And even before I really got into hard money, that was just supposed to be a stepping stone. I was going to be a realtor, is what I thought. I'd be a realtor. I'd flip houses. And then like second or third year into it, I was doing a little bit of everything. And I said, let me just narrow down on this hard money. And I narrowed down on that, made just as much money doing that as I was doing 3 or 4 different things.
Yep.
And now I'll acquire a rental here or there. That's more of what, and I'll do the quote flip or rehab burr, right? But I hire a contractor. Just from my network now, like you were saying, through the years, I have people who I trust. I put them in and they do the work. But even doing that, man, I hated it. Like I go down these inspections in the city and stuff. I'm like, I'm doing one of these things. It's frustrating.
It's a lot of work. It really is. It's a lot of work. And that's why it's like, for me, I don't want to flipping. For me, it's a beautiful thing. I will always remember it as a great time in my life and a stepping stone. But for me, it's a means to an end. Like I'm not here to flip houses forever. Like I'm not even here to flip houses for that much longer.
So what does that means to an end? Not to jump too far ahead here. I mean, is it to become what's those, like a big home builder that anybody knows? I can't think of one offhands.
Oh, like a Pulte or what are those guys? Yeah, I'm drawing a blank
Yeah,
also.
they come in, they buy, like 100 acres. They build, 100 homes, pre-sell them, and they move on to the next thing. Is that
No, no. For me, but I always said by the time I'm 42 now, by the time I'm 45, I'm going to have a private equity fund or a REIT. So, within the next few years, I will have like a full blown fund where we're going out there, 3D printed houses across the country, buying all kinds of real estate, doing all kinds of different deals from industrial to this to that. That's my dream. I want to invest at the highest level.
right? So you won't be so hands-on flipping these things anymore. You'll be more looking for value add deals, stuff like that. Maybe keeping stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of rentals too. I have in-house property management. I have over 100 rental properties, but for me, I want to do very large deals. Like it's for me, it's just as much work to buy a house and flip it than to buy a piece of property and build, 150 condos or, buy a big industrial complex or, whatever it is.
The process is the same. It's just a little bit bigger, right? That's all.
Yeah. You just add a bunch of zeros, but at the end of the day, it makes it more worth it.
Right. Because you could either flip 10 homes or do one bigger project. Probably be easier to do the one bigger project, not run around 10 different permits and this and that, right?
Exactly. But for me, it's more about the action of doing it. And for me, it's more about the action of competing at the highest level. I went to the US Open yesterday. So I'm at the US Open, and it's cool to watch the best players in the world compete on the biggest stage in the world for tennis. I want to be competing in the investing world on the biggest stage, which is, publicly traded funds.
Dude, what is it about you that wants that, right? I mean, it sounds like you said you're 42 years old. I mean, you could in essence you're very close to hanging it up if you want. I mean, I have no idea what your expenses are. We don't know each other personally, but I mean, 100 rental properties, massive company like this. I mean, you could probably flip 10% of what you're doing and have a decent living and have all the time in the world, right? What makes you want that next piece? Like go bigger, go harder, right? Like, I mean, you can relax. Why work even harder?
Yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, like by the time I was 40 years old, I could have retired. Like I could retire today and lead a great life and, do whatever I want. And if I had kids or whatever, hang out with my kids every day. I do it for the action, right? Like I like the action. I'm not really a flashy person either. Up until recently, I never really bought anything. Like I don't own a house that I live in. I rent an apartment, believe it or not. So I'm a pretty minimalist kind of guy, but I like, pushing myself to a certain level, to know that I could do it. When I die, I want to feel like I gave it everything. I left the tank empty. I have great stories. I competed with the best. I pushed myself, to the limit. I don't want to feel like I just coasted through life, waiting for retirement, waiting to die.
So you're not even targeting a number. It's really more of a competitive thing. Like you just want to be top of it. So if you made $1 billion, like it's irrelevant, right? It's just playing with the top players.
Yeah. And basically, money is the vehicle in order to do that. So the more money you have, the more you can invest, the more it takes you to another level. But I don't really need anything more than I already have right now. And it's like, how much money is enough? I'm not chartering private jets. I don't need I don't need a 10,000 square foot house with 25 cars in my driveway. I don't need that. What am I going to do with that?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, actually. I feel like for me, I always wanted to get a Rolex, and you said you don't have anything flashy. I don't know if a Rolex counts the flashy to most people, but I feel like by the time I got to the point that I could afford it, I didn't even
you didn't want it. Yeah.
So I don't have one, and I just don't even see the interest at this point. It's like I could do it, but I don't know. I completely lost the interest when I finally had that ability to get it.
Well, I mean, listen, it was cool that it was a motivating factor to get you to that point, right? But then, yeah, I mean, priorities change, things change. And listen, there's nothing wrong with if you're really into watches and you appreciate the art that is a watch, because they are, in my opinion, then go buy one. If you really like a nice car, go buy it. If you like clothes, go buy it. But there's a smart way to go about doing it. Like, I wouldn't be blowing, like you should invest first, generate cash flow, and then go use that cash flow to buy things. Don't buy things so that you don't have the money to invest and you never get the cash flow. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the cash flow now, buying me more cash flow though. Like I kind of got to that. It's kind of funny. I would say in the past year or two, I got to this point where now I have money making money.
Yep.
And it used to just be like, okay, I had one rental. Yeah, I made 500, $7 a month. Cool, whatever. And now it's cool to know that in a year these rentals make enough money to buy another rental. So it's like, why would I take 10, 15,000 from that? I was like, I wanted to buy another house. Let's buy another one and just keep rolling it up and scaling it into the next thing.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. How old are you?
I'm 34.
Yeah, I mean, you do being a little bit older. I was exactly the same way. And only very recently, like I spent the last 4 years buying all those rentals. And then I just did a bunch of like massive refinances and I pulled a whole bunch of money out because I had put everything back into it. And then like I took half a breath and I'm like, you know what? I'm 42 years old. I've been breaking my ass. If I want to get something nice or I want to treat myself or whatever, I can now do that. But now I have 100+ rental properties that are paying me every single month.
Yep.
But at that time, like at 34, I was just getting into real estate, not even really in real estate. So, you're doing the right thing, but you'll get to a point where you're like, you know what, I can enjoy this a little bit because you're like, you can't take it with you.
Right. Right. So it's great to hear that. It's a motivating factor for me, right? I always think that I want to be a millionaire at 30, right? When I was younger, it was like, so I grew up in a fairly wealthy town, but my family wasn't fairly wealthy, right? So this is where, like, we joke, we were poor, but we were only poor relatively, right? Like my dad drove a Ford Taurus, my friend's parents had Range Rovers, right? But we weren't living in a hood by any means, right? So I don't want to ever sound like that, but that's kind of why I feel like I wanted that Rolex, right? It was like the wealthy people around me had that stuff. And
Of course.
then I'm wealthy, right? Like if I could be a millionaire by 30, I'd be wealthy, right? And I never hit the millionaire by 30, but it's good to hear that, I feel like I'm behind, right? Because of that, because I've told myself since 17, like millionaire by 30, millionaire by 30. It's good to hear that you were 34 really when you started this empire. I'm sure you were successful in other business, but before you really pushed this business, this empire that you're building.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, everybody, and it's good that you feel that way because I always feel the same way. I always feel like I'm behind, like I should be doing more. I should be more successful. I think every person that has a desire to be successful or is successful feels that way, right? They always feel like they're behind and they're running out of time. But in actuality, there's a lot more time than you think.
Yeah, it's a good point. We're young relatively here.
Yeah, I mean, you especially, man. 34 is very young.
I appreciate that. I think it's funny. I'm targeting like 40 if I had I want to have $25,000 a month in rental income. So it sounds very, very reasonable if I keep pushing the limit here.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's all really a lot about timing. Like when I was buying these rental properties, it was just ripe for the market to buy rental properties. Right now, like it's very hard to buy rental properties. It just doesn't make sense because you're selling everything because the prices are so high. So, like somebody has a goal. They're like, yeah, I want to buy 10 rentals in 10 years. It doesn't mean you have to buy one rental a year. You might buy 6 rentals in 1 year and 4 rentals in the other and have your 10 just because the timing wasn't right. You have to be well-versed in all strategies in real estate, or at least a few strategies in real estate, because when things change, you have the ability to still make money and put your investors' money to work and make money yourself. If I was just in the business of buying rentals right now, I think it would be tougher because I think the prices are inflated.
That's awesome to hear because I do hear a lot of just if you just buy 1 or 2 a year, and I just bought I'm refinancing one right now, bought it in January, and even this one I'm like, how can I buy anything right now? Like prices are just so damn high. Like I'm really only keeping it, to be honest, because I got a stupid appraisal that was so high that I'm getting a decent amount of cash back. Like I could never sell it for what they appraised it for. And my construction went over budget. So it's kind of like a perfect storm in my favor for getting a little bit more cash back than I needed. But I just think, I don't know if I'm going to find anything for the next 6 months. And it's reassuring to know you don't have to buy 2, 3 a year.
No. I mean, as a matter of fact, you should never, there's a lot of guys that just get caught up in having to buy all the time. Don't do that. If the deals aren't there and they don't meet your criteria, don't buy. A lot of like these, big funds that make money, it's all really about the timing. A lot of them sit and wait and they raise money and they have a lot of money sitting there. And then when the economy takes a crap, like it does every 7 to 10 years, it's historically proven to do 5 to 10 years, whatever it is, they go in heavy, they buy a ton of shit over like a 2, 3, 4, 5 year period. And then they sit back and wait as things rise. And then they wait for it to reset all over again. That's basically what you do. You go all in when the time is right, and then you wait.
So where do you think we are now? I guess it's, I always look where the current economy and where are we going? So You hear a lot of panic. I'm trying to stay the course here, right? But do you think that we're overvalued and we're going to have a massive decrease here, and prices are going to drop 20-30%, and this is going to, I mean, you do hear a lot of guys saying now, of course, nobody really knows too much about them, a lot of Instagram people, right? But it's like, I'm ready, I got the cash, I'm going to buy, this market's going to get crushed, I'm going to be a cash buyer. I feel like you can eventually, you'll be right, sure, but do you think we're going to have that opportunity?
So with real estate, obviously it's very, very market specific, right? And sometimes it's even like micro niche market specific.
Yep.
For example, in the Great Recession, when everything was down, 20, 30, 40%, Pittsburgh was up 20%. It was the best, the most desirable place to live in the country at the time. So you have to take that into consideration. Real estate is a slow moving ship. It's not like the stock market. It's not up. It just doesn't fire down like that. It's not. It also depends on where you are in regards to supply and demand. Like in Long Island, where I live, there's less than 3 months worth of inventory, and there's no mechanism that's going to increase that. What I thought was going to happen, I think it's going to take a little bit of time. I don't think in my neck of the woods, we're going to be getting 20, 30% reductions in price. I mean, I could see, we already had a 5% reduction. I could see it going to 10 or a max 15, but probably somewhere between like the 8 to 12 long-term. But this all really depends on what the government does, and what the government's doing makes absolutely no sense at all. I thought that they were going to raise rates, cool inflation down, kind of stagnate the market a little bit for a little while, and then kind of let it go. But I mean, they bumped rates a little bit and then just decided to start giving everybody more free money, which, adds to the inflation problem. I mean, I went to a diner and spent $20 on a panini this past weekend. It just makes no sense. So when you have a situation where it's like a bunch of monkeys with guns just firing stuff off, it's very hard to make a real educated guess. If I had to think about it, and with my timing before, I didn't realize that the timing for it, but it kind of makes sense. I think they're probably going to try to artificially prop up everything until the election. And whether it makes it that long, I don't know. But somewhere in the vicinity of before the election to 6 months after the election, I think the economy is going to be a mess, because it's like, you can't just keep doing this.
Yeah.
How that plays out in regards to home values and things like that, now that remains to be seen. But I do think that we're just being set up for a very, very, very big fall in the next few years.
And is that fall going to be like an 08, 07, 08 kind of real estate fall, you think, or it's just
no, I mean,
we've seen.
I mean, listen, every recession has a similar result, but they're caused by different things. 08 is a very unique animal in the sense that they were just giving people money that they couldn't qualify for. Like they haven't been doing that. Like, buyers are qualified. This new thing with, I don't know enough about it, but with Bank of America doing, 0% down payment loans in certain areas, I don't know enough about it to comment. In general, that's usually not a good thing, but that's like the minority. That's not the overwhelming majority. The majority of buyers, because I have all my buyers screened, the majority of buyers that are closing on my houses are really able to, like, they can make the payments. The question is, as things get more expensive, if they continue to get more expensive, and as interest rates go up, if they actually end up going up in the short term, that is going to affect people's buying power. And ultimately that's going to affect what they can buy and the demand.
Yeah, definitely makes a lot of sense. And I agree with the area of the market. I mean, I don't know the numbers specifically, but when even, 07, 09 happened-ish, the New York City metropolitan area probably didn't really take that much of a hit compared to a Florida or a Texas or something like that, right? I mean, you were a little bit older than me. I was still in college when that happened, actually. But Long Island, Northern New Jersey, like, these are New Jersey, right? They're strong markets, right? When we're in New York City's not going away, right? So
Long Island is a unique market in the sense that it's completely built out. There is a lot of demand, even with people leaving New York for obvious reasons, because I mean, New York is very expensive and it's a tough place to live and it's cold. But and yeah, people aren't liking that, and I don't blame them for it. But in general, it's not like you're in North Carolina and there's endless tracts of land and these guys are, ripping out 100, 200, 300 lot subdivisions and they basically burn out demand. There's like that 25 lot subdivision that we're doing in Riverhead that I mentioned before is one of the last big parcels in Riverhead Township, period. Like there aren't big parcels of land to build houses. You're not getting them.
You can't make land anymore.
Yeah, can't make land. Long Island's built out. There's water on both sides. Like that's it. In different areas, yeah, like I've heard Florida always usually really blew up, bubbled, and then just came crashing down. I don't think it's going to be as bad this time because the world is different. Now you can work from anywhere in the world with a computer and a phone. You don't have to be in New York, LA, Chicago, places like that. But Florida is already receiving big price reductions. California is taking a big hit. Other countries are getting killed. I see the news pop up. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. Just, be conservative and it'll be okay.
I feel like stay the course, right? You had said, actually I saw in your Instagram post this morning about not making, it's like irrational decisions right away, right? Impulse decisions.
Oh, impulsive. Yes, impulsive.
So it's that, right? Don't be impulsive here. Just don't sell everything. Don't buy everything. Stay the course and see and slowly, methodically move through.
Yeah. Take a deep breath, take the information in, talk to people that you trust, then go out there and make decisions, but don't wildly and emotionally react to things. It's never good.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Tell us how we can reach out to you. People can contact you.
Thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate it. So Charles, aka obviously the Handsome Homebuyer. I'm at every single platform you could possibly want to consume content, typically at handsome_homebuyer, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, I'm on it, Facebook. So I also have a text platform as well, which you can access on the website, handsomehomebuyer.com. So if you want to find me, I'm very easy to find.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Honestly, I'd love to stay in touch, dude. You got a lot of information. So I'm sure I'll be reaching out, asking questions at some point.
Absolutely. Always here as a resource. I appreciate you taking the time out and I appreciate the platform. Thank you.
Thanks. Anytime. We'll talk soon.
Got it, buddy.